Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday morning, April 27th. A very active weather pattern across much of the nation. It looks like back-to-back soaking rain events for much of the eastern U.S. over the next 3-4 days or so. One system will impact the mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S. from Friday into Saturday. Another system looks like it'll impact the same part of the country, mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S. from Sunday into Monday. And by the time we get to the early part of next week, it looks like there could be several inches of rain in some parts of the eastern U.S. There could be some severe thunderstorm activity later today across the deep south, specifically states from Louisiana to Mississippi to Alabama. We'll have to monitor that closely over the next several hours. And again, a very active weather pattern continues for the next several days, and it looks like these cool air outbreaks that have been on a continuous basis from Canada into the U.S. during the past several weeks will certainly continue into the early part of May. In fact, next week, the first week of May, looks to be unusually cool for much of the eastern half of the nation. Here is the forecast total precipitation amounts for the next 5 days, really out to next Tuesday morning. So between this morning, Thursday morning, and next Tuesday morning, pretty much the entire half of the entire eastern half of the nation gets pounded by a significant rainfall. And certainly all the purple in this region right here represents 2+ inches of rain. Again, this is really from back-to-back systems beginning today down in the deep south, and then tomorrow in the mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S. That system continues to impact the eastern U.S. into the day on Saturday, and then a second system evolves for Sunday into Monday. So quite a bit of rainfall throughout much of the eastern half of the nation over the next 5 days. A little bit scattered about throughout the Rocky Mountain states, the northern plains. The only real dry area of note, southeastern part of California, maybe Arizona, will be without any rainfall over the next 5 days. Well, let's walk through last night's operational run of the Canadian model. We're looking here first at 850 millibar temperature anomalies. Cooler than normal conditions start off the day here over the Great Lakes, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S. Also, chilly air mass for this time of the year out across the southwestern states into the south central states. And here is your clash zone. We've talked about this many times. This is right in this region right here where you have this cold, dry air pushing in from the west and increasingly warm and humid air across the Gulf region. We have the sun is, of course, getting increasingly strong this time of the year. This is setting up that clash zone over the deep southern states today. And again, we have to watch out this territory right here, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, maybe into Georgia for some strong to severe thunderstorm activity as this cold shot pushes to the east. Now, let's walk through the 850 millibar temperature anomalies as we go towards the weekend. And here we go, kind of a mixed signal here by the time we get to midday on Friday. This is when the first of back-to-back soaking rain events starts to get underway in the mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S. And look at this cold shot pushing into New Mexico and Texas by midday on Friday. Then we push forward here. Still a lot of cold air for this time of the year down across the south central states. It does warm up, at least temporarily, across the west coast here by the time we get to the upcoming weekend. Then let's move forward here. It is on this particular time frame here, Sunday night time frame, that we'll have another strong storm system right near the Mid-Atlantic coastline. On its heels will be yet another cold air shot moving in from Canada into the Midwest, the Great Lakes region by the time we get to the end of the upcoming weekend. And that pushes into the eastern half of the nation throughout the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S. by the time we get to the early part of next week. The month of May actually begins on Monday, and it looks like it will be a colder than normal start throughout the first half of next week, throughout much of the eastern U.S., with this following on the heels of that second storm system. Again, the second storm system impacts Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S. Sunday into Monday. It will be cold behind that storm. In fact, the day Tuesday, for example, could have occasional showers, interior, higher elevation locations of the mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S. certainly could see some ice or snow mixed in with those rain showers in that colder than normal air mass by the time we get to late Monday into Tuesday. This is the Monday evening forecast map. Let's keep moving forward. And that chilly air mass hangs on right into the middle part of next week. And look at this, California starts to turn colder than normal. Once again, they've had a lot of colder than normal conditions over the past couple of months. Well, let's now focus in on the 500 millibar height anomalies, and we'll see a deep upper level low does set up over the eastern part of the nation by the time we get to Sunday night and Monday, and that's with that second system. Here we begin the day with some lower heights than normal across the northern U.S. into the southern part of Canada, and this system right here over the south central states. And again, we have that cold, dry air pushing in at the surface and mid levels of the atmosphere from west to east in this part of the nation. At the same time, you have some entrenched warm and humid air. That all leads to the possibility of some severe weather later today across the deep south. And this is a culprit as well, a vigorous wave of energy in the upper part of the atmosphere. So watch out, strong to severe thunderstorms later today. Then this system pushes up to the north and east. And this is the Friday evening forecast map. And there'll be a developing low at this particular time along the Carolina coastline. We'll see that reflected on the surface forecast maps by the Canadian model. Soaking rain event later tomorrow night, into the day on Saturday, mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S. And then we kind of have a multiple upper level features here. One down here over the south central states by tomorrow night, kind of another little wave here over the Great Lakes, and yet a third over the northern plains. And these tend to consolidate with the northern system, the southern Canadian system, ending up being the most important player by the time we get to the latter part of the upcoming weekend. It tends to absorb all those other upper level features into one very deep upper level low right here over the eastern Ohio Valley, the eastern Great Lakes by the time we get to Monday morning. And you can be assured that this will help to spawn strong surface low pressure right along the northeastern U.S. coastline by this particular time on Monday morning. And that'll be the second in the back-to-back soaking rain events for the mid-Atlantic northeast U.S. Again, the first one Friday into Saturday, and the second one Sunday into Monday. Then we move forward into the early part of next week, the middle part of next week, all the way out to Tuesday, and finally by the middle part of next week. And those first few days of the month of May will be well below normal temperature-wise in the Great Lakes, in the Mid-Atlantic region, in the Northeast U.S., maybe even some snowflakes or ice pellets mixed in with some instability showers later Monday into the day on Tuesday in those higher elevation locations of the interior Mid-Atlantic, interior Northeast. And here's another strong system headed into California by the time we get to the middle of next week. And they are warmer than normal right now, but they're colder than normal with this system by the middle of next week. Well, let's wrap up by looking at the surface forecast maps. We had a round of showers and maybe an isolated thunderstorm or two in the I-95 corridor region late yesterday, last night, even into the early morning hours, all associated with a weak cool frontal systems. But here's the real next system of significance impacting the south central states, the lower Mississippi Valley, as we begin the day here on Thursday. And this is the area to watch, right in this region right here, for the possibility of some strong to severe thunderstorms later today into tonight. Again, we have cold air for this time of the year pressing in from the west, and it will clash with some entrenched warm and humid air along the northern Gulf of Mexico region. Then we move into the day on Friday morning. We have one low, initial low, pushing up into the Great Lakes region. And we'll see in a moment here. I do believe there'll be a second system forming near the Carolina coastline by later tomorrow night. Right in this region right here, you can actually see a reflection of a secondary low right in this region right here near the Delmarva Peninsula by the time we get into late Friday night. And this, by the way, will be a very strong fetch of air out of the east to southeast, pushing into New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, New York City, Delmarva Peninsula. It'll become quite windy later tomorrow night with this next storm system that will see a secondary develop along the Delmarva Peninsula coastline here. And that strong southeasterly flow of air can certainly raise concerns for some high tide flooding across coastal sections of New Jersey, Delmarva Peninsula in this event. We're talking late tomorrow night into the day on Saturday. Again, you can see these kind of tight isobars right here, and that will be the location of some strong winds later tomorrow, and especially tomorrow night, right in the eastern half of the Mid-Atlantic region. Now, let's go into the day on Saturday. Still a reflection of a low right along the Jersey coastline. Rain, drizzle will hang on for much of the day in the Mid-Atlantic region on Saturday. Don't expect much improvement. And this initial system pushes up to the north and east, and right on its heels, the beginning of a secondary system. You can see here by late Saturday night into early Sunday morning, right in this region right here. And there was that wave of energy across Canada that will become the dominant player. And here's a reflection at the surface of that northern wave here by the time we get to Sunday morning. This becomes the dominant player, and the whole thing ends up consolidating into one strong low by the time we get to the latter stages of the weekend. We're talking now Sunday night, a second soaking rain event for much of the eastern U.S., including the Mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S. from late Sunday into the day on Monday. And with this second system, there too will be an initial low that rides up into the Great Lakes. And right here, you can see a secondary system will form the same location as the first one, near the Delmarva Peninsula coastline, the Jersey coastline. This is late Sunday night. And certainly there can be some heavy rain associated with this. And again, strong winds on the northeast side of this surface low pressure area. In this particular case, in the northern Mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S., coming out of the east-southeast. So again, watch out for coastal flooding, not only with the initial system, but with that second system along the northeastern U.S. coastline, late Sunday night, Monday time frame. And we move forward here into Monday morning, a very strong storm system with that strong support in the upper part of the atmosphere. At this particular time, we had that deep upper level low situated right over the eastern Great Lakes, western part of the Mid-Atlantic region. That will certainly support very strong surface low right near the New England coastline by the time we get to Monday morning. Look at the blues showing up here. This is the first day of May. Still seeing some snow, upper part of the Midwest, south central part of Canada. And this tends to rotate around for a couple of days, and it will be a nasty time period from Monday into Tuesday into Wednesday. All those high school baseball players, for example, are playing baseball in some very nasty conditions on the first half of next week, which again will be the first few days of the month of May. And there certainly can be some snowflakes or even ice pellets mixed in those higher elevations, let's say upstate Pennsylvania, upstate New York, into interior higher elevations of New England from later Monday into the day on Tuesday, with this unusually cold air mass that will sit around there and spin right into the middle part of next weekend. This is when that next system could impact California by the middle part of next week. So a very active weather pattern from coast to coast continues for the next week or so, with these cold air outbreaks continuing into the early part of May. These cold air shots coming from Canada into the U.S. do a couple of things. They fuel the fire for the possibility of severe weather. Watch out later today into tonight, the deep south, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, maybe into Georgia. And these cold air shots continue to help with the formation of some strong surface low pressure areas. And we'll have back-to-back strong systems impacting much of the eastern U.S. from Friday into Saturday, and then again Sunday into Monday. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Orion.